Alright, this is day one of Rangemaster. We're all leaving the B&B, getting ready to go. How you guys feeling?
Good, man. I'm excited. Yeah, this is a good one. Maybe this guy will not be in our way right here.
Finally doing the master course.
It's only taking Kel, what, 10 years? 10 years to get back out here?
These two went quick.
Yeah, we were here last month for the advance, the final master class.
It's pretty awesome range, rural range, Nashville. So, yeah, we're excited about it.
Good time. I'm excited.
All right. Day two. So day one's in the books.
Yep.
And went pretty well. So this is the master course. So we've already taken the basic
And the advance. Yep.
And kind of the whole idea was it would be seven days of training, right? Or 5?
7 total. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be 7 total if it was all like this is an institutional thing.
Actually, 8 days total.
8 days total. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Because the first one's 3, and then this one's 3, and then 2, right?
Yeah.
So we went into like one of the things that I thought was interesting about day one was there was a good bit of classroom time, and Tom always makes a point that we lose so much institutional knowledge over the years, and it's like why we do the things that we do, and there's so many trends in like the gun community and like stuff that seems new, and like stupid example like appendix carry, and that's the hot new thing, everybody carries that way or whatever, and some people think it was invented since social media was invented, but it's been around since like the pirate days, and there's like pictures of these guys and Texas Rangers carrying the revolvers, appendix. So it's good to know all that stuff as a trainer. I think that's super important to know what we're doing and where it came from
And how we got there.
Yeah, how we got there, the lessons that were learned, right?
And what blew me away is how long it took for us to decide we need to use sights on our guns.
Yeah.
But,
Well, actually, not that long, right?
No.
Like the guys that back in the 20s and 30s, every one of these guys were like, yeah, I saw my sights, and that's how you shoot people. Like, it was pretty basic knowledge. And then there's just these derailments because of, influence and culture, and like, the FBI was a big part of it, right? Because they influenced so much of the law enforcement community, which trickles down to all the civilian training that ever happens. But yeah, so you had point shooters, guys that were like naturally gifted, and were kind of these trick shot, like speed shot guys.
they were writing curriculum and stuff for the agencies. I thought that was interesting. That federal agencies were taught not to use their sights, which sounds like a crazy liability, but
yeah. So then, and it took them like so long to relearn lessons from the 20s and 30s because, like Tom says, everybody loses that knowledge that we've already had, that institutional knowledge, because nobody kind of studies the past. Because you have the guys from the 20s that were, hunting the gangsters, and they were talking about we need to put, if you're going to go to a fight, you need to bring a long gun. So they're putting rifles in their cars, and then it took all the way until the North Hollywood shootout, the 90s again, for cops to get patrol rifles back in cars.
Because the late 40s, early 50s, it was peacetime, right? So there was there wasn't a whole lot of need for rifles, and so people kind of went away from having long guns in their vehicles.
Yeah, so it's just interesting because the advanced class, you talk more about that, like the decade, like the previous class, right? He was talking about the different changes and crime rates and stuff like that, and different points in history and how that influenced it. And then this one is about all those people that were like so important at those different time periods. But so it's really interesting. I have like 2 pages of notes just from that classroom session, because I think that's important to know why we do the stuff that we do and the best practices and where it came from. But then we hit the range, and that was mostly like from our regular EDC here, right?
Yeah, and then we started our drills. We have to present our own drill and run a line and all of that with our peers. So I got to go yesterday. I did one of my own drills, and I think Caleb and Craig are on the docket for today, maybe even tomorrow. So today we're running. Today's our revolver day, so we're gonna do revolvers. So we got to learn how to use speed loaders and speed strips, and rock our 6 shooters. And then the second half of the day we're supposed to do our reverse image stuff. So we're to have to learn how to take our EDC gear and do everything left-handed now, because we need to be able to teach left-handed shooters and demonstrate left-handed. So
Or wrong-handed, as Tom
or
says.
wrong-handed, as Tom says. Yeah. So should be a good day.
Yeah, I'm excited about it because the revolver stuff, I didn't grow up with revolvers, but tons of people did. But it's definitely a lost art,
And you still do see them sometimes. Yeah. The gun shop people sell them to people, and you do still see revolvers in class. And how are you going to be a firearms trainer if you don't even know how to clear one and teach people how to be safe with one, right? So
yeah.
That's why we like these Rangemaster classes, is because you go in depth and you really get like the full thing of training. It's not just one specific aspect.
Yeah, I would put Rangemaster. That's why we have such respect for Tom and his curriculum. I mean, it's like it's pretty. We've done NRA, we've done USCCA, we've done different instructor certifications, but I think Rangemaster stands above the rest. Just the depth of knowledge that is required to even the basic instructor class is like head and shoulders, I think, above most else. Not just like the shooting standards are higher, and there's a written test with the first class, so you really got to demonstrate that you have the knowledge. And people fail. It's not like one of those gimme classes. You pay the money, you get the certificate. So that's why we kind of hold that curriculum so high above the rest. So it makes you a complete instructor, I think, by the time you get through that master rating and certification.
Yeah, for sure. Should be a good time.
All right, day 3 of the Rangemaster Master Instructor Development course. We are pretty excited. Day 2 was, we actually got out early, which is not the normal thing with these classes, but we got out early because yesterday was such a mentally taxing day. So we did all the revolver work like we were talking about. We did the mirror image work, working with your EDC gear, but set up in a left-handed holster, so you can learn how to instruct and help out your left-handed students, your wrong-handed students. But yeah, yesterday was a ton of fun. We all got to run revolvers. Definitely for me, more than I've ever run a revolver. And we'll put out a video about it, I'm sure, but revolver was super fun, and those are super cool guns, but it definitely makes me very appreciative for semi-auto pistols, is what I can say.
Yeah.
But it was a ton of fun. You got to run them, and you're constantly reloading. It's like running a pump-action shotgun. You're always doing something, shooting, reloading. So it's really cool. And then to get the history behind revolvers and the development of those, really, and in police work and the FBI and just the different techniques. And everybody was shooting. What was it? Up until I believe it was the 70s. The standard method of operating revolvers was single cock them. You would a cowboy action, thumb cock the things, and double action we kind of all take for granted today. So it was just super awesome. Lots of revolver content, more than I ever. Tom's obviously forgotten more than anybody knows about revolvers.
That's one of the things that I think is amazing about Tom. Everyone, he has all of the knowledge from his tactical days of actually shooting, but the dude is he's an encyclopedia full of history and knowledge of how we got to the point in the gun industry and why we're teaching what we're teaching now. People setting us back, a lot of years, and then we'll make it, 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of thing in the gun industry for a long time. So I think it's very underrated, his knowledge on just the actual history of everything and all the different guns that he understands and stuff. So that was awesome. I learned so much yesterday.
Yeah, he's definitely, like you said, a walking encyclopedia, and he encourages that with his students, this instructor course, and even his other instructor courses. He always gives recommended books that you should add to your library, and that's something that I think most instructors should do, to really fill out your knowledge gaps and do as much as you can to learn about the craft and the art and how we got here.
Yeah,
so
sure.
There's a lot of stuff that predates the internet,
Yeah.
and it's not on YouTube or YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, this has been an insanely comprehensive instructor class so far, comparatively to anything that I've ever taken. That comes from the big places like the NRA and USCCA. It's just not even close to comparison on what I've learned so far. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, can't recommend it enough. So today's day 3. So not sure what's in store today. It's just going to be a regular EDC gear. So throughout the whole weekend too. I don't know. Did we talk about this on like day 1, 2, and 3? Because it is an instructor course, you're having to come up. All of us had to come up. Every student had to come up with a drill that they wanted to run, whether they invented themselves or whether it was a standard, shooting drill in the community. And not only just like run the class through the drill like an instructor would, but everything that we do. This goes back to like the knowledge base and everything. Is like you should be able to explain the origins of the drill, why we're doing it, what it's supposed to accomplish, and why it's done the way that it's done. So that's really good. So there's going to be some, obviously, some students teaching that today. We still have that left, and then by the end of the day, of course, will be the final qualifications. I'm not sure exactly what that is for the shooting standards, but that'll be it. So then we'll check in afterwards and see how we did. And but looking forward to it. Day 3 should be awesome.
8-inch drill. This one was made by Tom, so I give him all the credit there. So what we're going to be doing is this 8-inch circle, you're going to fire 2. This head box, you're going to fire 2. And then this parrot, you're going to fire 2. You guys only need 6 rounds for this. Just have a full magazine. And then when I say the command of up, you're going to come up, fire 2 into the chest, 2 into the head, and then 2 into the parrot, and then come down to the ready. Everybody get it? All right. Get on the 5-yard line.
All right, guys. So kicking off day 3. Day 3 review. Day 2 was fun. We did all the revolver stuff, and we did the mirrored side shooting everything with left hand, which was interesting. Then day 3, we started back in the classroom and had some good discussions there. I was looking forward to it because Tom's presentation he just took like 10 of his students that are involved in shootings, right? Because he ran that school in Memphis for so many years, and he had a representative sample of like 10 of those that he does a presentation on, which I've seen, that I know he did back at TACCon in the past, but I've never seen it before, so I was looking forward to it. But it was definitely pretty interesting to see like his students and their kind of real life debriefs of after their shooting incidents and the lessons learned from those. So I thought that was really good because it gives very good context around why we do what we do, and why we teach the things that we do in our curriculum design. It's all based on like not the average gunfight, right? Because there's no such thing as average, like Tom likes to say. Stick one hand in hot water, one hand in cold, and on average you're comfortable. But it's typically what he sees, right, in these incidents. So it's pretty interesting as far as the distance is concerned, and how many attackers and
and
shots
where
fired, stuff like that.
where your typical gunfight is, and how it kind of unfolds. But there's some crazy outliers in there. One that stuck out to me was a dude actually had to get in his he got in his car because someone put a gun in his chest and drove all the way to his house. Then it was like 25 minutes worth of a mugging before he was able to get a shot off, which I thought was just wild. So he put in a couple outliers like that, but most of it was pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always interesting, right? There's like no absolutes with any of this stuff, so you gotta think. But I think that's something that is different about Tom's course, right? It's like he encourages you to think and train for these most likely or typical things that we see happening, but it definitely gives some attention to those outlier situations. So he gave that presentation, and then I don't remember if we hit the range right afterwards, but we were definitely in the classroom again for the flashlight presentation and the technology and how that changed over the years, which, kind of being a gun nerd, is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, we hit the class, or we hit the range right after the self-defense shooting stuff. Just ran through some quals, and then qualled for the actual course. I think our team did pretty good there. So we got hundreds and 99s on stuff, which is always fun. And then we came back into the classroom for the flashlight thing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and the quals are interesting. Tom has 2 quals, which is interesting for most shooting courses. I think they do a good job of testing like different skill sets. One's say the B8's very accuracy based, covers a lot of stuff, and then a very silhouette target. kind of more typical type qual. But again, based on all those things that he had just given in the lecture, right? Like you can see where his curriculum design comes from, which is one of the when I think I've said this before, but one of the reasons why I got so heavily down that path of training with Rangemaster was because he's one of the very few, especially when I started training, you have guys that are retiring from like Global War and Terror, all these soldiers and stuff like that, and then you have guys that used to be cops, and both of those are like different contexts, right? Than what we were dealing with as civilians. Like cops have a obligation, like their whole job is to go pursue criminals and get close to them and have to handcuff them and put them in custody. So like their types of fights and violence and stuff like that typically turns out different. It's closer ranges and stuff like that than what we deal with as civilians because we're not out searching for bad guys. It's normally a surprise. It's you're behind the 8 ball when the action kicks off. And of course, the soldier context is completely different, right? You normally have a bunch of guys with you. Maybe you've got rifles, and you're going out to kill and break things. And
It's offensive more than
yeah.
defensive.
Oh yeah, absolutely right. And collateral damage is expected, and if it happens, it's not a big deal. But same thing with police, right? They have qualified immunity, so if something goes wrong, the police hit rate is pretty low countrywide, and they're not really liable for that. But as a civilian, there's a very specific context of skill sets we have to have and what we have to train standards to. And that was the thing that most impressed me about Tom's whole doctrine and like what he's done over his lifetime is he's had all these students that he trained, and then just the ones he knows of that have come back and talked to him after they've been in gunfights and saved their lives. He's had so many successful cases. There's really nobody else out there with that type of data set or that type of proof that what they're teaching works, to keep regular people safe. So, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, then the flashlight stuff I thought was good because everybody argues over flashlights, and Tom's got a very pretty hardline opinion on all this stuff. But it's very interesting to see how like technology has driven technique throughout the years, right? Like they used to have these batteries and that didn't last very long, and super low output lumen flashlights that were fragile and all this stuff. And there's a specific technique taught to the FBI that kind of gets picked up by all the police agencies and then eventually civilians, right? And then all the way to what we have now with these super high powered tiny flashlights that we can stick in our pocket or weapon mounted lights and stuff like that. So yeah, just really interesting. It's neat to get that historical perspective from somebody that's been around and like seen all these different phases and technology increases and everything, and someone that's picked up doesn't jump on board with the newest thing, but's familiar with it and changes when it's self-evident that things are getting better. So yeah, I just can't say enough about it. And the Rangemaster kind of whole doctrine. If people are looking for an instructor curriculum, I think it's definitely top of the line as far as what we do. Defending or regular people that just want to take care of themselves and their family. I mean, I can't speak to it highly enough.
Yeah, it was great. Good time, and always a treat to get to listen to Tom. He's a character and a half. So
yeah, you'll be entertained as well.
yeah, it's a good time.
Yep. Craig, do you have anything you want to add in?
Nah, you said it all.
Yeah, I mean, day 3 was pretty much straightforward, right? It was a little bit of classroom, and then like just a culmination of everything that you're working towards for the full 3 days, right? All the quals to kind of prove that you had what it takes, and then we got our certificates, and we took off after that.